Cars began flooding the highways long before Hurricane Dolly drove into the Rio Grande Valley on July 23rd, bringing winds up to 100 miles an hour and torrential rain of between 10 and 15 inches in some areas. On July 22nd, tourists and residents alike began evacuating South Padre Island and surrounding areas as Dolly slowly gained strength and lumbered toward the lower Texas coast. The area's last brush with tropical weather came in 1999 when Hurricane Brett spared the valley and entered sparsely populated ranch lands to the north. But the run of good luck was about to come to an end as the Category 2 storm stayed on its projected course after passing the Yucatan Peninsula. On July 23rd, Hurricane Dolly slowed to a crawl to lash South Padre Island and Port Isabel with high wind and rain before eventually making landfall near the Cameron-Willacy County line. Its slow, plodding course through the valley left devastation and flooding in its wake. Some 205,000 electric customers served by AEP Texas were left without power in the valley area. In all, 212,000 electric customers served by the company lost service as Dolly's long reach impacted areas as far north as Corpus Christi and as far west as Laredo. AEP Texas began its storm preparations days before Dolly made landfall. Numerous conference calls and meetings were held to arrange for incoming crews and logistics to support their efforts. Making advanced arrangements for a moving target is difficult at best, but AEP's emergency management team made adjustments as conditions changed. A small army of about 1,600 workers was called upon to help the San Benito District crews pick up the pieces when the storm passed through. In all, some 2,000 line and service technicians, tree trimmers, damage assessors, and support personnel helped with restoration efforts. Damage reports and outages started streaming into AEP customer solution centers as Dolly's winds and storm bands began to whip the coast. From July 23rd through July 30th, AEP's integrated call centers located throughout its service territory handled 216,500 calls for AEP Texas. The peak hourly call volume during this time was 7,700 calls. That figure is in stark contrast with a typical hourly call volume of just 350. While the eyes of Texas and the rest of the nation were focused on the Eastern Valley, Corpus Christi began feeling the effects of the storm's outer bands. In fact, the top floors of the AEP Texas home office had to be evacuated when a tornado warning was issued for the downtown area. Employees working in storm support positions literally took their papers and PCs to the fourth floor lobby area to continue their work in preparing for restoration. Later in Laredo, personnel had to evacuate the division office building since its nearby communications tower was not rated to withstand the gale force winds hitting the area. Both the Corpus Christi and Laredo districts had their share of outages due to sustained winds. In fact, some of the incoming crews stopped off in those areas to restore power before eventually reporting to work in the San Benito district. Distribution line and service crews from AEP and 23 outside companies were faced with the daunting task of replacing over 1,000 distribution poles and 525 transformers. More than 1,400 accounts listed as critical load, which included hospitals and city services, were knocked out of power. 124 substation circuit breakers were locked out due to electrical system damage. Transmission crews were faced with replacing 55 structures that were destroyed. 22 transmission line segments were knocked out of service and one substation transformer destroyed. In fact, the South Padre Island substation control house was almost completely destroyed by Dolly. While crews worked toward a goal of getting virtually the entire valley back in service within a week, restoring transmission line service to the South Padre Island area was going to be a challenge. A mobile substation was brought into the area to be placed into service if necessary. Crews worked from sunup till sundown in most instances to safely restore service. Logistics support in many areas worked around the clock to see that crews had the necessary fuel, materials, food, and lodging to keep them operating with optimum efficiency. Preliminary estimates place storm restoration cost at more than $25 million. AEP Texas President and Chief Operating Officer Pablo Vegas said Dolly put employees to the test and he was encouraged by their efforts.
This has been a very challenging time for all of our employees, their families. What I've observed, which has been amazing, is how much they've not been thinking about themselves, but thinking about the customers, thinking about the needs of the communities that they're in, committing their time from dawn till well into the night to do whatever it takes to get power back on. It's been a sense of selflessness, a sense of community consideration, and more than anything, a sense of pride of being part of the solution to helping to bring these communities back online. And I've been very impressed with what I've seen. Employees have been happy to be able to be part of the solution, and been very proud of what I've seen of them.
Rapid and factual communication is critical to any successful restoration effort. AEP Texas community affairs managers were placed throughout the valley to keep the news media and area officials updated. Corporate Communications issued reports several times each day to make sure both internal and external audiences were informed of progress being made. Maps and other critical information were posted on the internet to show estimated restoration times for different areas throughout the valley. Website traffic was 10 times greater than normal, with most viewers referencing the outage information site and report and outage pages. AEP Texas Vice President of External Affairs Julio Reyes says keeping key stakeholders in the loop is vital, since the public needs reassurance that AEP Texas is taking the necessary steps to get the lights back on in a timely manner.
We've been proactively also contacting the governor's office, lieutenant governor's office, our legislators, our three commissioners, our PUC commissioners, keeping them informed because they are concerned and want to make sure that they're in the loop in what's going on, what we're doing down in the valley, because they too eventually start getting phone calls, not only from the city mayors and city managers, but from legislators as well.
It doesn't take Mother Nature long to cause serious damage to an area, even as one as large as the Rio Grande Valley. At the same time, with advanced planning in place, along with a mutual assistance bond, utility companies can join together to pick up the pieces and rebuild in an equally short period of time. Here's a tip of the hat to the many folks who helped pick up after Dolly finally left town. While the Rio Grande Valley was not pleased to say hello to Dolly, it was more than happy to say goodbye. The damage caused by the Category 2 storm stands as a sober reminder that all hurricanes must be respected and none can be underestimated. As we turn the page on this chapter of South Texas history, AEP Texas stands ready to meet the challenges posed by the next. Along the Gulf Coast, it is not a question of if, but rather a matter of when.